if
Marques
you wanted to avoid being suspected of being a serial, why would you live in a 1-bedroom apartment with the boy you a guardian of, who's your artist, who's making thousands of dollars a show, but don't got his own bedroom?
If shit ever gonna get right, niggas is gonna have to come clean. Cause you're not gonna live, you're not gonna sweep anything under the rug. I was molested by Chris Stokes and Marques Houston, and that's the truth. Period.
Check it out. So I've been getting a bunch of calls from my loved ones, people that support me. And they're like, take this down, deal with this privately. But I say, yo, they've ruined me publicly. They've tried to smear my testimony, make me out to look crazy, got people looking at me sideways, got people thinking that I'm gay, and I'm not because I was molested by.
Yeah, I definitely think something happened to him. You know, I don't know what happened to him, but I think something happened to him.
Marques Houston has recently been under fire for his marriage and grooming charges, but he has offered his own explanation. Marques is simply doing what he was taught to do by the music industry's tyrant, Chris Stokes. Chris coerced Marques into a gay affair, according to Marques. What did Chris do to Marques, and how did it affect his subsequent relationships? Let's get into it. Marques Houston married his 20-year-old girlfriend when he was 37 years of age. The enormous age difference and the disturbing circumstances of their relationship plunged the whole internet down a rabbit hole. His marriage wasn't the first time Marques was accused of grooming. In fact, Raz-B, a member of the band B2K, accuses Marques of raping him.
I tell you, I walked through the same thing what you walked through. That first time that Marques ever put his in my was in that room too.
Marques disputes the rape allegations and claims Raz-B is only acting for publicity. In an interview, he stated that now that B2K has been removed from Raz-B, he is simply attempting to maintain his status and fortune by taking Marques down. Yet Raz-B isn't the only one who has been abused by Marques. Quindon Tarver, another teenage musician, accused Marques of molesting him and forcing him to engage in sexual practices while under Chris' guardianship.
To be with someone in the music industry, Marques, and no, that was not something that I did willingly, and it was not consensual.
Tarver graphically depicted an assault incident in one interview. Houston allegedly raped him on the floor of Chris Stokes' bedroom at his Studio City residence while Stokes watched from his bed. Quindon was outspoken about the abuse he suffered at the hands of Chris. Chris would often refuse to participate in the act itself, but Chris forced Quindon to have a gay affair with Marques. Other times, he would abuse the youngsters himself.
Chris all the time. To where it was like, man, this like it's not even, this is nasty, man. I'm like, I'm really looking at this like this really is gay. Like this really do like, and I have to participate and do this. When can I stop?
Marques did all this because that's what his mentor Chris taught him to do. Chris wielded a lot of power over Marques, and anything he ordered him to do, Marques did without hesitation. Chris had signed Marques to his band when he was 10 years old. And after that, Marques grew up under the influence of Chris. Chris Stokes exploited and brainwashed him into becoming a rapist and an abuser. Raz-B's brother talks about the house where Marques and Chris did the unthinkable to be young boys under their care.
This is the location where Raz was standing, where in the video he was stating that this is where everything happened, where Marques Houston molested him. Chris
was always a predator and pedophile who used his power and position as these young boys' manager to force them into sexual acts. Nobody could speak to him since their careers were in his hands. Marques has been sexually involved with men from an early age, and it's all because of one man, Chris Stokes. Chris is a rapist and a caretaker, and he did not spare the young boy who came under his wing. Marques is just one of many boys Chris molested and forced into homosexual relationships. Marques even shared a one-bedroom apartment with Chris when he was still a young man.
It was an amazing apartment, but they only had one bedroom.
Yeah.
Marques was supposed to be under the tutelage of Chris. Chris was Marques' mentor, and it's clear that he pushed all kinds of boundaries with Marques. At the time, Marques didn't have much of a choice because Chris was going to start his own career and be his manager. Raz-B's brother revealed how sorry he was for not protecting Raz-B from the abuse of Marques and Chris. He said, "Chris made me take showers with the other boys. All that little shit that my brother was introduced to, that shit was brought to me first, and I blocked that shit. I wasn't with it, I backed off. I kinda knew what was going on over there, and yet I took my brother over to Chris. I didn't protect him like I should have. Stokes molested my brother, and he molested me. When I say that, it hurts." Shockingly, Chris wasn't at all afraid of people finding out that he arranged Marques' gay affairs. After all, he was happy to release a video of them living in one bedroom. Chris Stokes is not afraid of any responsibility. Even now, he can publicly admit his actions. Speaking to Raz-B, Chris explained that he doesn't do that anymore.
I don't do that. That's what I'm trying to tell you from my heart. What I'm trying to tell you is that ain't me. That was up years ago. I don't do that no more. I like, the bottom line is that I don't feel like getting on the phone fussing with my cousin.
This is an open admission that he engaged in a variety of improper activities just a few years ago. But because of his prominence and connections in the industry, no one wants to criticize him or support Raz-B. When asked about these claims, Chris easily turned the conversation in a different direction. He said that all these men were clearly lying. All the allegations they made are false. I'm not gay, and I'm married, and I have 4 kids. I have been with my wife for 16 years, and I'm not a child molester, so those are all false allegations. I'm gonna sue them, and I owe that to my wife and kids, period. It's ridiculous. He tried to present these wounded young victims as some crafty men out to get his money. He clearly has no remorse for his acts. You have to understand, since B2K broke up, they've done nothing, and they really had no money other than the financial support I gave them. Stokes said. Now, as you may have seen in the videos, he now claims that his brother is preparing to commit suicide. So at this point, they felt they could just do whatever they felt it would take to get the money. This makes one wonder why Marques would continue to defend Chris Stokes even if Chris blatantly mistreated him when he was a youngster. One of the reasons is pretty obvious. Marques grew up in Chris's care, and he's now so thoroughly brainwashed that he no longer sees Chris's activities for what they are. The second reason is darker. Marques has evolved into the same monster that Chris has always been. Marques is involved in all these assaults and gay affairs, and now he no longer has any conscience left in him. This is a more reasonable scenario knowing Chris and his relationship with his underage bride. Marques married Mia Dickey when she was only 19. But according to a photo uploaded on social media, the two had been involved since Mia was 12 years old. To make matters worse, Mia had been reported missing since she was 16. And guess when she reappeared mysteriously? She was 18 at the time and coincidentally old enough to be in a relationship with Marques. Even in this mess, Chris Stokes is the driving force behind Marques. According to Marques, the couple met in 2018 through a mutual friend, Chris Stokes' daughter, Chrissy Morales. In an Instagram post, Mia even called Chris her dad. She stated, "You don't have to be my blood to be the one I call dad. You're just the best father figure and the best friend anyone could ask for. I thank Jehovah for such an amazing honor of knowing you." Mia clarified this post afterward in a meeting and said that Chris wasn't related to her by blood but was like an otherworldly father to her. She said, "I am not related to Chris Stokes. Shortly after I met Chrissy, she introduced me to her dad. I refer to him as my spiritual father because my biological father has not been a part of my life." It's clear that Chris and Marques knew Mia amid the time she was allegedly lost. What's more regrettable is that there's a hypothesis Chris embraced Mia amid this, whereas it's beautiful and self-evident that Chris was making a difference in Marques' prep, a small young lady, and indeed made her remain absent and separated from anybody who knew her. After all the underage boys, it appears that Chris effectively made a difference or possibly constrained Marques to having a sexual relationship with an underage young lady. Is Marques a casualty presently or fair and enabler? Who knows? But one thing's for certain, Marques annihilated the lives of youthful boys with huge dreams, and he did it by the orders of one of the greatest beasts that the music industry has ever come over, Chris Stokes. People are talking up around these affirmations. It looks like, at long last, the casualties are being listened and Marques and Chris Bear may be held responsible for all the wiped out activities they did. One Twitter client wrote, "Y'all just now figuring out that the Raz-B situation was true. Y'all laughed at the man, believed when Marques Houston and Chris Stokes said he was crazy and on drugs. But bro was telling the truth the entire time. A sane human being will never lie about that." And that's it from us today. Until next time, bye.